Hey, what's going on, Renaissance Lifers? Welcome back to Renaissance Life TV, where we take life to a whole new level, tackling topics of personal growth and success with a different perspective on navigating life and relationships. On today's show, we're talking about why I'm so competitive and why I think you should be too. Alright, so before I get into it, I just wanted to say that I've been really enjoying making these videos for you, and I hope you're getting a ton of value out of them. So I'm looking at the videos from when I first started a few months ago to how it's progressed at this point now. I'm feeling a lot more comfortable in front of the camera, and hopefully you're able to see that as well. I'm really looking forward to continue to bring you great content. If you like this type of content, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really does help the channel to grow. And like this video, and please leave a comment down in the comment section below. That helps YouTube to see that people are engaging with the video. And more than that, it helps me to know what you're thinking, what ideas you want to see me cover, and in general, it helps the community be able to start to engage with one another. So I really appreciate that. Alright, so let's get into today's topic. Why am I so competitive? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my thoughts on what competition means to me, whether in life and in business, and why I think competition is super important for personal growth and success. Okay, so before I get into what competition means to me, I'm going to talk about what competition typically looks like, or what people typically think about when they think about competition. And I'm going to say here that competition typically gets a bad rep. And a lot of times it gets a bad reputation for good reason. A lot of times competition means you've got to be cutthroat. You've got to step on the other guy in order to get to where you're trying to get to. You're going to do things that are unethical to be able to get an edge and to advance and get ahead. And a lot of times it's seen as trying to do whatever it takes, whether good or bad, to get to the next level. That's the typical definition of competition and what people typically think about when they think about competition. Now let's go to the other side. Healthy competition and true competition is aimed at getting people to do the best that they can do. It typically brings out the best out of everyone. So what that means is it's not just one person doing something that's able to create a monopoly, but when you find that another person is also doing that same thing, it should up your game. If you weren't doing as well before in communication or in customer service, and another company has great customer service or is doing better, then that should want to pull you to improve your customer service to be able to compete with them as well. So what does competition mean to me? Now, to me, competition is super fundamental to who I am on a daily basis, how I live my life, how I run my businesses, and how I perform in general. What competition means to me is something slightly different than the previous two definitions I just gave you. Competition to me means doing the best that I can do and always giving my best. So the way I was raised, my dad was one of those people who was very disciplined, and it was required for me to do the very best. So my dad was the type of guy, if he mopped the floor, you could eat off the floor. And so there was this really huge theme of taking pride in everything you do, no matter what it is. Whether you were going to mop, whether you were going to clean, whether you were an executive, wherever you got in life, you had to do your very best. So that kind of grew with me. And what that means is if you're always trying to do your best, you're always in competition. Now, who are you in competition with? The great thing about competition, the way I see it, is that you're really in competition with yourself. And this is huge when it comes to comparing versus competing. So a lot of times when people think about competition, it's more of a comparison with what other people are doing or trying to do what other people are doing, and it's less about what they're actually doing. I'll give you an example here. I've played basketball for a number of years. Well, one of the things that people say is that I'm super competitive, and they're like, wow, you don't like to lose, do you? And I always give the same answer, which is that I really don't mind losing if I played my best game. If I play my best game, do everything I'm supposed to do, and you beat me because you just play better than me, I can accept that. I can live with that. I don't like it necessarily. I want to be the person who does the best. But if you're just better than me and more skilled, I can accept that and I can live with that. And in fact, what that's going to push me to do is try to improve myself on a daily basis so that way I can be better than what I am even today. The one way that I hate losing is if I know I didn't play my game, so you're beating me just because I didn't play my game. Essentially, I'm beating myself. because the person I'm in competition with is me. What I mean by I'm in competition with myself is that I'm trying to beat my past self. So if my past self can make 10 free throws in a row, for instance, I'm going to be looking to make at least 11 free throws in a row. That's what I'll be happy with, because that's who I'm in competition with. I'm constantly seeking to improve and improve my last best. It's kind of like trying to beat your own record. And if you're in competition with yourself, what happens is you don't have the pressure of someone else kind of pushing you. You don't have to compare to anyone else. It's fine if someone else can make 15 free throws in a row. That really doesn't concern me. What concerns me is, can I make more than the 10? And can I make more than the 11? And the really interesting thing about that is that if you compete with yourself regularly and improve regularly on a day-to-day, week-to-week, year-to-year basis, you're generally going to be getting better than other people who are not improving. So with the example of the person who already makes 15 free throws in a row and you're at 10, if you keep improving, you're eventually going to reach 15 free throws in a row. Or maybe your cap or max is 14 in a row. But would you not be more happy at 14 free throws in a row than at 10 free throws in a row? So for me, I want to be able to reach my max, whatever that is. If my max is not as high as the next guy's, that doesn't bother me, because I know that I reached my max. I gave it my all. That's what I'm able and capable to do. My dad used to tell me the same thing in school. If I brought back a B or a C, he would be hard on me on getting a B or a C, not because I got a B or a C necessarily. He would say, listen, if all you could do was get a B or a C and that was your capacity, I'd be happy with that. Because for you, that would be your very best. That would be your limit. But you have the capability and you can get the A. You're just maybe lazy or you're not applying yourself. So if I had the ability to get an A and I slacked off and was lazy and didn't study and got a B, B minus or a C, that would not be acceptable because I was not performing to my full ability or potential. If my full ability is a B, then that's fine. That's the most that I can get. Doesn't matter that somebody else gets an A. What matters is that I get a B. So if you shoot for the stars, you'll land on the moon. Who's gonna be upset with that, right? It's kind of like if you try to be a millionaire and you only reach 500,000 a year, would you really be upset? No. You reach 500,000. There's really no problem in that. And that's the benefit of competition. So that was a mouthful. But the last thing I'll say about competition and what it means to me is that competition keeps things interesting. If you have no drive to compete, to try to get better than where you were yesterday, then things kind of stagnate. And the reality is, in business, in life, if you're not growing, you're dying. There's no such thing as staying where you are. If you're not working your muscles, if you're not improving, if you're not trying to build your mind, if you're not learning more words or learning more things or concepts, applying yourself more, you're gonna be going in the opposite direction. There really is no middle ground. You're either growing or dying. And that's the same thing in life. If you stop moving, you start dying. So a good example of this is people who are bedridden in a hospital, right? So simply from laying there, a lot of times people will eventually develop bed sores and open wounds just because they're not moving, just because their muscles are not moving. And the muscles will waste away. So if you don't have movement, if you're not using your muscles, anything you don't use, you lose. I'm sure you've heard that before. The last thing I will say is that competition keeps things interesting. You don't just have the mundane or just accepting where you are at a given time, but it constantly gives you something to strive for. And it shouldn't be stressful because you're not competing against anyone else. You're competing against yourself. And what's beautiful about competing against yourself, with that example that I gave you before, if the person who was making 15 free throws in a row stays at 15 free throws in a row and you consistently improve from 10 to 11 to 12 to 13 to 14, eventually you or someone else will eventually reach that person who stayed at 15 thinking they were confident because everybody else was at 10. More than likely, you or someone else will surpass them at 15 if all they do is stay comfortable at 15 free throws in a row. So that's the importance of growth. That's what keeps things interesting and keeps life interesting. So hopefully that's given you a different perspective on competition, why I'm so competitive, and why I think you should be too. And with that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Just hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment down in the comment section below. Do you agree that competition is good? Is it bad? Or are you thinking of competition in a different way? Please share that in the comment section below. And until next time, I'm wishing you health and happiness. Cheers.